Great. Uh, Obviously, we're having issues with our video, and I apologize. We're trying to fix it, but we're just going to go ahead and get started because we don't want to obviously keep you guys waiting. So anyway, thank you so much for your interest. My name is Tony Dunn, and I'm the director of UX, CXA, and UI development at Royal Cyber. And have you heard about this thing called AI? Yeah, I know it's kind of trending. Honestly, there's just so much swirl around AI. It's hard to tell the hype from what's real. Well, for the next 4 weeks, we're going to be examining what is real for AI in UX research and design, customer experience analysis, business analysis, and UI development. Today, we're going to chat about how AI affects UX research and design. Now, before we start, I just want to share a small disclaimer here. Everything you're about to hear is based on our collective experience. This is not opinions based on the consensus of the UX community. It's really just our ideas on how best to take advantage of AI in the real world. Okay. Now, to set expectations, I want to say that we are not going to reveal any super AI model that gives you a website at the push of a button. That doesn't exist. Sorry to disappoint, but there are some really incredible things happening with AI. AI is helping US practitioners with many phases of UX research and design, speeding up processes, identifying patterns, unearthing insights, and suggesting alternative directions, all saving us valuable time so we can be more strategic and hopefully find the big ideas. Now, I'd like to introduce our panel of experts and let them tell you a little bit about themselves. Mohan, would you like to go first?
Sure, Tony. Hey everyone, apologies for the video, but here we are. My name is Mohan Ashok. I've been in the UX and digital strategy for over 12 years now, mostly into e-commerce, focusing on conversion optimization and other omnichannel experiences. Well, as UX leaders, we always try to balance what the users need and what the business wants, right? We won't just focus on creating smoother user interfaces. We take care of other activities like engagement, conversions, long-term retention, and many other things which drives user satisfactions and also business success. But doing this will take a lot of time, a lot of research, iteration, and refinement goes into place. So that is why my team and I have been actually exploring how AI can enhance these UX processes without sacrificing those human touch, right? So we've been leveraging a lot of UI tools to streamline our research processes, organize data, also automate a lot of repetitive tasks so that it allows us to focus more on strategic work. Today, our team and I are excited to share with you how we are integrating AI into our UX process to work more smarter and faster. To more as a collaborative partner to accelerate our workflows. Yeah, so let's dive in and explore more in detail soon.
Great, great. Thanks, Mohan. Sebastian, you wanna go next?
Yeah, yes, Tony. Hello everyone. So I'm Sudarshan, and before getting into deep into my professional career, I just want to share a little about myself, how I stumbled upon UX side. So when I was a kid, I remember the thrill of learning to ride a bicycle, and at first it was frustrating, wobbling, then falling, and gripping the handlebars too tightly, unsure of how to balance. But then something clicked. I stopped overthinking, trusted the moment, and suddenly the riding became effortless. Years later, I had this similar realization, but this time with design. I was exploring websites and applications, wondering why some felt natural, like cruising on a smooth road, while others felt like struggling on a rocky uphill trail. Some experiences guided me effortlessly, while others made me stumble like poorly designed bike with stiff brakes and awkward handling. That's when I realized great UX design is like riding a well-tuned bike. It feels intuitive, responsive, and effortless. As I got deeper into UX, I saw the parallels everywhere. Just like a well-designed bike adapts to the rider, a well-designed product adapts to the user. Good UX isn't about the aesthetics. It's about making the ride smoother, eliminating the unnecessary friction, and ensuring that no one gets left behind. So, today, with overall 7 years of experience in UX, I still approach my work the way I once approached my bike riding, constantly learning, fine tuning, and striving for the perfect balance between ease, efficiency, and enjoyment. And just like the first exhilarating ride, great UX should feel effortless, almost invisible. Just you, the journey, and the joy of reaching your destination.
Great.
Yep.
That's great, Sudashi. I got to admit, I had one of those bike riding moments yesterday. I live in Colorado, and I'm about 5 minutes away from amazing mountain bike trails, and it didn't go as smooth as I had hoped. In fact, it went a little rocky. It almost felt like I was riding a bike that wasn't designed for me. So I can completely empathize with your story. Okay, Anupriya, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi everyone. I am Anupriya, a UX designer with a bit of an unconventional journey. I actually started out as a mechanical engineer before making the leap into IT, hoping to find something I truly love. I started at a startup where I learned how everything functions, and if there was something to learn, I was all over it. Somewhere along the way, I found myself drawn to how users interact with the products, and I became obsessed with understanding their behavior, figuring out what worked and what didn't. So, making sure their voices were heard in every product decision. And that's when I realized this is it. UX wasn't just a job, it was my passion for putting user first, solving problems, and creating experience that truly matters. That's about me, Tony, and everyone.
Okay, thanks, Anupriya. Swati, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure, Tony. Hello, everyone. I'm Swati Chaudhary, and I have been in this organization for the last 4 years. But since childhood, I have been drawn to creativity, whether it was sketching or experimenting within color or designing. So I pursued my bachelor degree in designing and master in psychology. When I was in psychology, it grew my interest in understanding of human behavior and decision making. Then this fascination lead me to UX and UI designing, where creativity meets psychology to shape meaningful user experience. Then I stepping into the industry where I deepen my understanding of UX. So I gradually understood UX is more about problem solving and user need, which would impact business as well. And with every project, I continue to explore that how thoughtful design can make a digital experience more seamless and intuitive. Thanks, everyone.
Great, thanks, Swati. Hey, I'm hearing some background noise, so if you're not speaking, can you put your can you go on mute? Great. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay. Thanks, everyone. That was great. As with anything AI, it's how you interpret the generated result set that really counts. Nothing can be accepted at face value, which I'm sure many of you in the audience have realized. So, let's just start with UX research. Without a doubt, AI is a huge help in research. Many of the processes we use in UX research are accelerated using AI. For example, for one of our clients, we needed to generate personas, identify possible pain points in the current experience, and look for similarities in needs, wants, and desires. The usual stuff. We used an AI model called Coco to accelerate data curation and quickly generate ideas. I interviewed customers and stakeholders, then took the transcripts and converted them into PDFs, and then I ingested the PDFs into Coco. So once Coco was trained on the PDF contents, I could start asking it questions. Of course, we could have sifted through the transcripts ourselves to uncover the insights, but what would have taken us hours or even days to do, using Coco took us minutes. But as I mentioned earlier, you can't accept AI generated content at face value. You need to edit the results, which takes a subject matter expert. For example, when I asked Coco for possible friction points in the current experience, it offered a lack of product choices as a possible hurdle. And I knew this wasn't an issue because the client's product catalog was ginormous. But from our UX review of their site, I knew there were issues with the browse experience. So I started asking Coco questions about the information architecture, and I started to get solid directions. Also with AI, I found that you need to be ready to do a little work to get what you need. When looking at similarities across personas, I selected the needs row across all the personas, and I asked Coco to identify similar needs. At first it kind of choked on the prompt. I had to go through several different iterations of the prompt to get responses that were helpful. And I'm sure all of you have experienced this. We don't, being a prompt engineer doesn't come with the territory, so it's something that we all have to learn. But the lesson learned is, at times it becomes kind of a dance with any AI model to get usable results. Okay, Mohan, I know that you have had some experience using AI for UX research. Can you tell us a little bit about what worked for you and what didn't?
Absolutely, Tony. Yeah, AI has completely changed how we are approaching UX research these days. Like, think about how research used to be, right? We would spend hours meeting with the experts. We would read reports, analyze competitors, map out some workflows, just to get a basic understanding of a new product or an industry. It was incredibly time consuming and also expensive, right? Now, with AI, we are just a few prompts away from accessing tons and tons of information. We can gather background insights and market trends, and also, sometimes have a good head start for planning our research. It may not be perfect. We need to dig deeper. But I think the heavy lifting, at least in the start, is much easier these days with the AI tools. And beyond planning as well, AI is a very valuable tool for brainstorming our research. Let's say, for example, if we need to draft interview questions, there are tools which can generate a solid list of questionnaires for the targeted audience within seconds, right? And another example, if we are designing a survey, we can suggest the right set of questions based on our goals. Similarly, for diary studies or usability testing, all these tools can help us structure a framework so we don't have to start anything from scratch. And on the execution part, these tools can transcribe once the interview is done. Let's say, for example, the user interviews, the tools will highlight the key themes and summarize insights. It's just like, imagine having an assistant who listens to you, to the interviews and all the other research activities, and instantly pulls out the most important feedback, right? Instead of us spending hours reviewing recordings, we can drive straight to the analysis part. And it is also helpful when it comes to organizing and making sense of the research data. Like I said, instead of manually sorting through pages and pages of notes or videos, all these AI tools can group feedback into patterns, which makes it easier for us to identify trends. And also, when it's time for us to present these findings, these tools can help us generate a structured report. So it's much faster and easier to share it with stakeholders or users for validating it. These said, I would admit that they are not perfect. Like I said, it works very well with the data that it is presented with, but it doesn't understand the people, right? It cannot pick up emotions or hidden motivations or cultural nuances the way we can. And that's why I think AI should be seen more as a smart assistant and not as a replacement for us. It will take care of repetitive and time consuming tasks so we can focus more on what is really mattering to us, the strategic work, and deeper level thinking and design decisions, etc. But AI is still an assistant. And let me give you a real example. Recently, I was working on a UX project for an e-commerce site, and I needed to define the product taxonomy. Normally, this would take hours by using methods like card sorting or other research methods, right? Instead, I turned up to ChatGPT this time to generate a category structure based on the available data. And within minutes, I had a very well organized categorization that served as a very good starting point. But it wasn't perfect, but still, it saved a huge amount of time to start with. However, the output was limited to what the data it was given. It could not come up with an entirely new category, for example. And the project that I was working on, we were introducing a new category called browse by spaces category because of the real user research that we had done. It was very essential to the business. AI could not suggest this, even when we had provided with all the research artifacts and other research materials. It did not come up with something as fresh as this. That's where I say human expertise is still crucial. Interpreting needs and identifying gaps and making all these strategic decisions goes beyond just sorting existing data. Conclude, the key is to know where to trust AI and where to step in. Let it handle the heavy lifting, but always apply human judgment if you want the best results. And we need to combine AI speed with our own expertise and empathy. Otherwise, we will risk being misled into thinking AI generated insights are complete and unbiased.
Cool. Thanks, Mohan. You introduced something that I think we're going to be coming back to often. It's this ability. Does AI have the ability uh, to come up with original ideas? I mean, you mentioned that, you gave it ample time to try to come up with a new category structure, and you gave it, some tips, and it's still kind of choked on it. I mean, do you have any thoughts on, what happened? Why couldn't AI come up with something original or a new idea? Any thoughts in that area?
Yeah, Tony, I think AI patterns work with the data that it is being created. It cannot ever think on its own. Like, you need your real user research to uncover the user insights, and then based on that, it's us humans who are making the strategic decisions of what could be the other possibility. How can all these insights that we are uncovering open up new windows, new avenues? But with AI, it is still working with the data that it has already, and nothing new can be established without the real human intervention.
Great. Hey, thanks, Mohan. Just one other question, because I think this would be, helpful for our audience that are, are looking for tools that can help them in the workflow, or have started using tools, but, may or may not know if they're using the right tools. And you mentioned that tools are evolving so fast that it's important to monitor. Um, can you talk a little bit about, the standards you use to consider, an AI tool, or possibly even using it in your workflow flow? Just some thoughts in that area would be amazing.
Yeah, sure, Tony. So we start testing these AI tools with something smaller, but is also challenging or taking up a lot of time, right? Maybe like generating interview questions or summarizing research reports. This, I think, is the quickest way to see if the tool is actually going to help us speed up the process. And the next thing is we will take a closer look at its performance as well. It's not just about getting results quickly, right? We have to check its effectiveness as well. So we do this by checking how well the tool is able to handle edge cases with little to no instructions, whether it is accurately interpreting the research goals and performing in line with the goals that we have in mind. So, and also when we get the output, we don't just take it at its face value. We will cross verify it by comparing the output against known benchmarks or real user interviews, and then also manually review the data to make sure all the results are reliable. And yeah, so that's how we go about using integrating the tool into the process. And lastly, we also consider its overall benefits, such as like time and efficiency with the enhanced research quality as well. Is it justifying the cost? So I think this systematic approach ensures we are investing in the right tools that is adding real value to our workflow.
Cool. Thanks, Mohan. We're gonna just shift gears over to talking a little bit about AI and UX design. I know there's a ton of stuff that we could continue talking about in the area of UX research, and maybe we'll have another webinar where we just talk about that, because it is amazing, some of the things that are being developed in that area. But, in the area of AI and UX design, I honestly think this area has some of the biggest misconceptions. AI, don't get me wrong, AI has enormous potential in UX design, but there's still a lot to be done before it becomes a viable tool for UX design. But there are some real heroes in the mix. For example, I personally like what I'm seeing in Figma AI. From a design quality standpoint, in my humble opinion, it is a cut above the rest. And what do I mean by design quality? Design quality is that intangible, and I know there are some designers in the audience, so you know what I'm talking about. It's that intangible when it comes to design. Design quality is originality, taste, style. It's what makes a design stand out, and it's hard to train an AI model to understand what good taste is or what good design is, because it's kind of subjective. You know it when you see it. And AI doesn't like subjective. That's a human trait. And honestly, many believe that until AGI, or artificial general intelligence, can be perfected, it's going to be out of reach for AI. It's until AI can truly think like a human and appreciate what an original idea is, it's simply going to be that goal that's just too far out there. Okay, the other thing I like about Figma AI is it's in Figma, the most dominant UX design tool on the planet, for good reason. And anything that comes out of Figma AI can be adjusted in Figma, and I personally think that this is a huge deal. Because of issues we will discuss, you're going to always need to make adjustments to any designs that are generated using AI. You just are. And if you're going to make adjustments, it's so much easier in Figma. So, that, in my opinion, tips the scales over to Figma AI. Okay, what is the downside, though? Because, it all can't be good. What is the downside of Figma AI? Well, all designs use the same design library. In Figma, think of a design library as a repository for all of the elements that are used for a website. And these elements include the styling. This is why the design quality is so high using Figma AI. But it also means everyone using Figma AI will have designs that look the same no matter what the prompt is. So obviously this isn't great if you're trying to establish your agency for UX design excellence. Okay, so back to our panels of experts. What are some of the experiences that you've encountered? Anupriya, I know you've been scrutinizing AI design tools for quite some time. What are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, Tony, I completely agree that AI has incredible potential in UX design. But we're still facing major challenges, especially when it comes to originality and taste. As you pointed out, AI isn't great with subjectivity, and while Figma AI produces high quality designs, the reliance on the shared libraries means we risk losing uniqueness. I have personally explored a few AI powered design tools, including Designer wireframes and UX Pilot, to see how well they handle complex UX challenges. And they were fast, efficient, and provided a solid starting point, much like Figma AI, but they also exposed a key limitation. That is, AI generated design often lack the depth of human intuition and strategic thinking. One of the biggest gap I noticed was in UX cohesion. So while AI can assemble screens based on prompts, it doesn't always create seamless user journey. A design might look polished, but if the flow isn't intuitive, it won't drive engagement, and that's where the human UX designer is still essential, not just to refine aesthetics, but to ensure the experiences are meaningful, accessible, and user centered. From a business perspective, Tony, this is critical distinction. AI can generate visually appealing designs, but without research, testing, and iteration, those designs won't necessarily meet users' need or business goals. So stakeholder might see a AI generated design and assume that it's ready for launch, but a UX designer know that a true usability would come from iteration and not automation. So where does AI fit in? As an accelerator and not a replacement. I think it speeds up brainstorming, it automates repetitive tasks, and helps us explore variation quickly. But the creative, strategic, and human aspect of a UX design, those are still firmly in our hands, Tony.
Yeah, great insights, Anupriya. Thanks so much. You touched on such an important part of great UX design, the due diligence and the hard work that goes into UX research that obviously drives great design. Are there any AI tools out there that you see that are planning to incorporate UX research into their AI design models?
Uh, that's a great question, Tony. But as far as I know, and I've looked it out, but I have not found any AI tool that currently exists and can take a UX research finding and could transform it into a fully research-driven design.
Okay. Thanks, Anupriya. Now, for those that are familiar with how UX design is done right, the value of solid UX research. And, not being able to pull UX research directly into an AI design tool is a huge deal. It's definitely a limiting factor. Okay, Sebastian, I know you are actively looking for new and promising AI tools. Can you share some of your favorites?
Yes, Tony. Yeah, for sure. So I just want to share my experience using AI for color palette. So let me give you a small gist about my experience so far. So AI isn't just about what it generates. It's about how you interpret, refine, and apply it. Nothing should be taken at face value. So when I needed a strategic, accessible, and a brand aligned color palette for a project, I turned into Chroma AI, and it revolutionized my approach to color selection in UI UX design. Traditionally, crafting a color scheme meant manually testing endless combinations, ensuring accessibility, and maintaining brand consistency. So Chroma streamlined this process, helping me to curate palettes tailored to specific products and platforms. Whether designing an e-commerce site, a fintech dashboard, or a food delivery application, the AI suggested colors that not only look stunning but also enhance the usability and user perception. It balanced trust and urgency for e-commerce, evoked craving with warm tones for food apps, and ensured fintech dashboards remain professional yet approachable. And then, actually, what it makes Chroma AI unique is that it is powerful, but also it adapts to the brand context and user experience. It allows me to fine tune results, ensuring colors were optimized for readability, accessibility, and emotional impact as well. And of course, AI isn't flawless. Some pairings needs refinement, and as a designers, we still essentially need to align with brand identity. But Chroma provided a strong foundation, saving hours of trial and error while leaving room for creative control. And for designers, pitching a palette to client, it's literally it's like a game changer, bridging the data-driven decision with creativity, making it easier to justify choices through usability, psychology, and industrial trends. So Chroma AI doesn't replace design expertise; it actually amplifies it, empowering designers to craft high-impact and user-friendly experiences that truly stands out.
Yeah, what an incredible use of AI. Color selection, you know, color is one of those areas of design. uh, that I believe many designers struggle with. All right, show of hands out in the audience. How many of you struggle with designs? Okay, so a lot of us. You know, one of my instructors at Art Center said there is no such thing as a bad color, just the wrong color. You know, and how true is that? You know, Sebastian, is it possible to ask Chroma AI to see a range of color palettes, like, you know, rated from conservative to more risky? And the reason I ask, and a lot of us have been in situations where, you know, we've been asked to update, you know, a client's brand colors, but you know, there was concern about losing equity. So, you know, you want to show them a range. First, you want to show them a palette that is immediately going to be comfortable for them because color is so emotional. But it
Yep.
may not take them very far away from where they are currently. And then you want to show them something that is maybe a little bit riskier. Can Chroma AI show you a range of color palettes, you know, from something like conservative to more risky?
Yes, Tony. Actually, this is a great insight. And this is possible. And yes, Chroma AI can definitely help explore a range of color palettes, from safe and familiar to bold and adventurous. And this is especially useful for brands looking to refresh their colors without losing recognition. And for instance, if a company wants to subtle update, and I can generate palettes that keep their core identity intact, but refining the shades for a more modern feel. But if they are open to more change, I can show more options that introduce new accent colors while maintaining their harmony. And for the brands willing to push boundaries, Chroma can suggest completely fresh combinations that still align with their values. But in UX design, this flexibility is the key. The color influences the emotions, usability, and brand perception, as I said already. So adding to this, again, another example for an instance, I would say a fintech product might start with trustworthy blues, then explore softer, humanized variations before considering bolder and more innovative tones. So Chroma makes it easy to visualize these shifts and guides the client through the decision-making process, tuning color selections into strategic and data-backed conversation rather than guessing the game.
Yeah. Thanks, Sebastian. That's just such a wonderful application of AI. Obviously, you know, many of us, you know, think about the broad strokes, you know, like a complete redesign, but you know, the subsets of design are just as important. Like, you know, obviously, you know, color selection, typography, you know, those are the things that really in my opinion, you know, make a design sing. Okay, so thanks, Sebastian. Uh, Swati, I know that you also have some thoughts on some AI design tools that you've been using. Can you share some of your ideas?
Yeah, sure, Tony. I agree that it's good for designer as it simplifies workflow in a quick validation of design and generating a quick prototype by which designer can test multiple ideas in a short span of time. So for that, I used Cloud AI for my workflow and decision making process, which improved my design flow significantly. Like ChatGPT, which often provide more generic design advice, Cloud AI offers a deeper awareness and analysis with sample of UI and code as well. For example, how it helps me when I upload a design file or ask for a design solution, it not only provides suggestion but also generate interactive prototype that visually demonstrate the problem and multiple solution with the help of the prompt. So it also helped me analyze my wireframe against the WCAG guidelines, which ensuring the accessibility compliance as well. So this made my design process more informed, efficient, faster, and user focused. So the only limitation I have found within Cloud AI is that its interactive prototype can't be directly converted into the Figma design. So, however, it generates function React component, which can still be valuable. Overall, it helps me to ideate more effectively by providing solution that align with the given prompt. So, Above all this, human involvement is required, as we all discussed. Thanks,
Great.
Tony.
Yeah, thank you, Swati. You mentioned a couple things there that I'd like you to unpack. The first is that when you upload a design and ask solutions from Claude, and Claude provides suggestions. You know, do you use these suggestions verbatim, or are they just a starting point for further exploration? And second, the inability to bring in designs into Figma. How much of a limitation do you think that is?
Thanks for asking, Tony. When I upload a design file and ask Cloud a solution, that I don't use its suggestion as in a verbatim. Yes, instead I treat them as in a starting point for further exploration only. So Cloud provides insightful recommendation based on the prompt which I have provided it. So regarding the inability to bring design directly into the Figma, it has some limitation, but not the deal breaker. But while it would be more efficient if it had a seamless transition from Cloud Prototype to Figma, only the functional React component it generates, which will be helpful for developer. So for the designing, I use it for the ideation and took references before starting the design in Figma. Thanks, Tony.
Okay, great. Thanks, Swati. I think the point you made is so perfect for capturing the essence of AI and UX. Using AI is a great starting point for design exploration. AI accelerates idea generation and provides directions we may not have considered. I used to a big part of what I used to do was moderating brainstorming sessions, and I was taught by a true master. His name was Doug Hall. Some of you may be familiar with him. And the exercises Doug taught me were intended to accelerate idea generation by freeing the mind to think differently. I think this is the true value of AI. It frees our minds to see unlimited possibilities by sometimes removing the drudgery of idea generation. As I said earlier, AI has amazing potential, and we're just scratching the surface and looking for ways AI can be used in UX. With all that being said, I also believe that there are many out there that are maybe a bit misguided at best when looking at the potential of AI. I believe AI will never be able to replace a designer. Okay, I said it. Elon Musk can come after me if he wants. But one of the true superpowers of humans is the ability to create. We all have this ability, and to create based on both experiences and emotions. This is the place where new and original ideas come from. And until AI can demonstrate original thought, it will continue to be what Gary Marcus described as a wonderful autocomplete tool, in my humble opinion. Okay, first, I'd like to thank our panel of experts, our UX team here at RCDC. It's so great to hear your thoughts on AI, and thank you for being truthful on what's possible using AI and UX. I think it's particularly important to look at anything coming out in AI with a critical eye. As I stated earlier, I am a huge believer in the potential of AI in many areas, not just UX, but subject matter experts are needed, and that's all of us. I was listening to an interview with Ezra Klein and Ben Buchanan, the special advisor on AI in the Biden administration. And Mr. Buchanan thinks the next huge breakthrough for AI will happen in less than 2 years. This is when AGI, artificial general intelligence, will become real, and which will theoretically enable systems to be as smart as humans. I think the interesting question is, when AI design tools become smarter than humans, who actually are they designing experiences for? Will we live in a world that caters exclusively to AI agents or something? I doubt it, but it could make for a great sci-fi movie. So anyway, more on that later. Thank you so much for being such a great audience. Just to reiterate, the opinions that were expressed today are by no means reflective of the UX community at large. These are just our experiences and our humble opinions. Many of you have different ideas, and that is awesome. let's share and keep the dialogue going. One thing is certain: if you don't have an opinion about AI, an opinion will be made for you. So it's important that all of us are part of the conversation on how AI should be used, but more importantly, how it shouldn't be used. Thanks again. Okay, and now I think we have some time for some questions. Ready? Are there any questions? Hello?
Yeah, Tony, we have opened the forum for Q&A.
Okay, great.
Let's see if we get any questions on the chat. Alternately, if any one of you would like to talk to us, kindly raise your hand and we'll unmute you so that you can ask the questions to the speakers.
Uh, I do see some questions coming in. This question is to everyone on the panel. It seems that you collectively don't think IA is capable of an original idea. Can you give an example of this? Anyone on the panel? I mean, I could take this if you'd like. Okay, so an original idea. I mean, otherwise known as a big idea. Give an example of why or of when AI was incapable of coming up with a big idea. Well, actually, 2 weeks ago, Nupri and I were asked to come up with a concept for a AI agent that could help a B2B business with customer service. And we honestly came up with what I think is a killer idea and just a working prototype in a couple days, which is pretty darn fast in my opinion. But it was a new idea because it addressed a huge concern of those in the B2B business, especially sales reps. What do you do with a lot of prospects that are trying to purchase a product that has a long buy cycle? And as I said, Nupri and I came up with what I thought was a great solution that allowed customer reps to automate many phases of the beginnings of a product that is going into a long purchase cycle. But if the sales rep in monitoring the chat saw that there was an issue that could be fixed, the rep could actually go in and adjust the messaging, interactions, the persona, and also suggest that the AI agent provide additional content to the prospect. So, it automated a lot of phases, as I said. But what I think what it was particularly successful at is it started customer service at the evaluation phase. It didn't wait until a ticket was issued. Okay, so in my opinion, that was an original idea, and I tried to see what I could get out of Figma AI and ChatGPT. And continually what I got was just a ChatGPT type of experience. It wasn't anything new, and it didn't address the clear issues that happen at different phases of purchasing a product that has a long purchase cycle. So that is my example. And do we have any other questions? Okay. I have one from Mohan. Mohan, you suggested taking advantage of AI speed, but temper AI results with expertise and empathy. But AI is so persuasive. How do you know when AI is being honest? Okay, that's a tough question, Mohan. How do you know when AI is being honest and you should just accept what they say even though you may not agree with it?
Yeah, Tony, that's a really thoughtful question, and thank you. And to be honest, we don't always know right away, Tony, when AI isn't being honest, and that's exactly the point. Sometimes we only notice something is off when we start using these AI-generated insights and realize they don't quite match what the users are actually doing or saying. I think, and that's why we use feedback loops into our process so we can test early and catch those mismatches and adjust quickly. Yeah, it's not about getting the perfect answers from AI, but to but get a reliable ones faster. So yeah, feedback loops helps us. And like I said earlier, we don't rely on AI to make the final call. We would treat it more like a brainstorming buddy. I would say it helps us get started, surface some ideas, and organize information. But at the end of the day, we are still in the process to interpret those insights and make a final call.
Great. All right, I got another question. This one is for Anupriya. Anupriya, you and Tony seem to think AI isn't able to distinguish good taste. Isn't speed enough? Can't we get by with design that's competent, but maybe not breakthrough? Wow, that's a real heavy philosophical question. What do you think, Anupriya? Can we settle for competent design and not want to get breakthrough design?
Well, this is a great question. And well, speed is a huge asset, and AI does a remarkable job at accelerating workflow or handling routine tasks or even generating competent, usable layouts. But when we talk about getting by with design that are merely competent, I think we're settling for bare minimum. And that's not where innovation, engagement, or brand loyalty lives, honestly. In my opinion, design isn't just about looking good or working okay. It's about creating an experiences that are memorable, emotionally resonant, and strategically aligned with business and user needs. Right? That's where the taste enter the
Yeah,
conversation, not just an aesthetic filter, but as a reflection of human insight, cultural nuances, or purposeful intent. AI can follow rule and it can stimulate styles, but it doesn't yet understand the context, emotional, or the subtlety of that makes a design uh, uh, truly resonate, right? So a good taste in that sense is about making a thoughtful decisions that balance originality, clarity, and impact, right? And that still requires a human touch. So yes, speed matters, but speed without intention risk delivering experiences that could be forgetful, confusing, or misaligned, right? So if our goal is to stand out and build trust and genuinely connect with users, we can't afford to trade vision for velocity. So AI should enhance creativity, not flatten it, in my opinion.
great. I have this fear. I have a fear. Um, I used to teach at Art Center, and I used to teach design at Art Center. And for those of you familiar with Art Center, it's an amazing institution. But I mean, besides being great on the technical side, they were always about the aesthetic. Does it look great? And I have this fear that um, some of the tools that are being used these days, some of the AI tools, are going to reduce the quality of design. As an example, I was just with a peer, not in design. But this person was on the technical side, and he showed me this tool that he was excited about and how it could generate dashboards really quickly and actually pull in real data. And he showed me what it could do, and I said, "That's amazing, but it looks horrible." And so I have this fear, that we're going to be so swept up in speed, as I talked about, or the ability to bring in real data into our prototypes, or whatever else. Um, but we're going to lose the concern of how does it look, and does it feel intuitive to the people that have to use it. So yeah, thank you for that answer, Nupri. I actually have another question for Sebastian. Sebastian, here's the question. Honestly, I never considered using AI for color, but what an amazing idea. Thank you so much. Do you have any other AI programs that you use, maybe not for UX, but for smaller subsets of design like typography? Any thoughts in that area, Sebastian?
Mm, yes, Tony. Yeah. Since we were discussing about the color chroma AI, right? So that was mind blowing. Actually, it was acting as a catalyst for the UX process, basically. And pretty close to that. Recently, I did explore a couple of AI, and so one out of it I filtered out, and then I felt that particular AI, which is called as Font Joy. It's not an AI though, but actually, it gives you a lot more of similarities with respect to Chroma AI. That is, Font Joy actually gives you, uh, a super pairing up fonts. That is, when you just click a button, it throws out a bunch of font pairings that actually looks good together. You can even lock in a font you like and let it swap out of rest until you find the right combination. And also it uses Google Fonts too. So everything is free and web friendly. And I would strongly recommend, or I would suggest everyone to just give a shot on this one. And it's perfect for when you want something that feels cohesive without spending hours second guessing your choices, because each and every brand would have their own guidelines, right? And being a UX designer, you need to pitch for it. So I felt like I need to go through a specific font and I need to look for a pairing font, like heading and then the paragraph, or heading and then the subtitle, right? So we have to be emphasizing on the heading and also the para. So that took a lot of time. So rather, you can go with this option and you can you know do this seamlessly. And I would suggest this one also. This is a great catalyst, I would say.
Great. All right, thanks, Sebastian.
Thank you.
We got time for one more question, and luckily this is for Swati, so we can be democratic and ask everybody a question. Swati, can you talk a little bit more about using AI for prototypes? I'm especially interested in using these prototypes for user testing. Have you done this, Swati?
Yeah, sure, Tony. Using AI tool or AI plugin can significantly speed up prototyping for a user testing. So Claude AI, for example, can help us generate UX copy, user flow, or screen ideas from prompts, which can help us then in the design tool, which is in a Figma. So once the prototype is ready, platform like Maze or Userberry let you to run the quick user testing to gather the feedback. So this AI driven workflow make it easy to iterate fast and test it on an early phase and improve usability based on a real user insights. So here I would say that it can support team doing exactly this, and specifically for an early stage product when we are just designing on it. And along with that, I would like to add that have I ever done this? Yes, I am trying it as AI is getting better at design and rapid prototyping also. So now there are more advanced tools in which AI is working. Incredibly like a Warsaw or level. There are a lot more. So AI that can generate a UI just from a prompt and even let you to edit the design with the simple instructions, like if I will add make this cleaner, or if I will give the prompt or something else that add more spacing in the layout or a section where we want to add. So this helps quickly validate UX ideas and principle, in my opinion, Tony. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Swati. That's, this all we have time for, and it seems to be just ending at the right time. We just have a couple minutes left, and I think if there aren't any more questions, we can end and give you back a couple minutes. So I think this is a good time to say thank you so much for joining and showing some interest in this area. Obviously, it's important for all of the reasons that we've discussed. And hopefully you'll be able to join us for our other 3 webinars. The next one is on CXA, AI and CXA. The one after that is AI and business analysis. And the final one is going to be AI in UI development. So thank you guys so much for joining. And hopefully we'll see you at our next webinar. Bye.